Good evening, everyone. We're just going to give it a few minutes for everyone to get into the room, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Buenas noches a todo el mundo. Vamos a esperar algunos momenticos para los que todavía están llegando y desde ahí empezamos. Gracias por su paciencia.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Et nous juste à bailler un petit temps pour tout le monde capable de monter sur les noms, pour nous capables de commencer. Et que merci pour votre patience.
大家稍等，我们再等几分钟，很快就开始了。
Hello, everyone. We're just going to give it one more minute. I see a few more people filtering in. Okay, I think we are ready to go ahead and get started. My name is Katie Zazera. I'm the Manager of Stakeholder Engagement here at the MBTA, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this public meeting on the Forest Hills Station Improvements Project. This is going to be a design update, which will be presented by the project manager, Arthur Gillis. We go to the next slide, please. So just a quick note, this meeting is being recorded so that we'll be able to share it with people who are unable to attend tonight's presentation. Following this meeting, the recording will go up on the project webpage. So it will be able to be shared with everyone who wasn't able to be joined tonight. Next slide, please. Just a quick note, all MBTA activities, including public meetings, are free of discrimination. The MBTA complies with all federal and state civil rights requirements preventing discrimination on the basis of race, color, national origin, limited English proficiency, and additional protected characteristics. We welcome the diversity from across our entire service area. If you have any questions or concerns, please visit mbta.com/TitleVI, which is Title VI, to reach the Office of Diversity and Civil Rights. Next slide, please. We are offering several interpreters tonight for different language access. To access the different languages we're going to offer, you're going to be able to hit the small globe icon near the bottom of your screen. You're going to next hear from our interpreters. We have a Spanish interpreter, a Haitian Creole interpreter, and a Mandarin interpreter. So I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
Buenas noches a todos. Hoy tenemos interpretación en español, en criollo haitiano y en mandarín. En un momentico vamos a encender la función de interpretación y cuando lo hacemos simplemente ubícase al fondo de su ventana de Zoom, ahí hacer clic en el icono del globo y escoger Spanish. Si se está conectando tras móvil, empuje los 3 puntitos, de ahí escoge Interpretation, pues Spanish, pues done. Si tiene dificultades, por favor, comunícase con nosotros tras el chat. Muchas gracias. I'll now pass it to Haitian Creole.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Et non, moi c'est Esther, moi c'est interprète créole haïtien. Et que assoyant, rencontre que nous gagnons, réunion ça, nous gagnons service interprète en plusieurs langues, et gagnons espagnol, créole haïtien, mandarin, ASL. Et que si que par exemple nous avons besoin de service, interprétation, si besoin de réunion dans la langue créole, ou à cliquer sur le globe blanc côté qui dit et globe blanc et pour choisir créole là pour capable d'entendre et en réunion rencontre ça que nous gagnons dans la langue créole haïtien. Merci.
Hi everyone, my name is Terry. I'll be your Mandarin interpreter. 大家好，我叫 Terry， 我会是你们的国语翻译。待会你在屏幕下方会看到一个地球的图标，你点选地球的图标，然后再选择 Mandarin， 你就会听到国语的频道了。如果你是用手机或者是平板电脑上来的话呢，你可以点选屏幕下方的3个点，然后再选择语言的选项，也可以进入到国语的频道。好的，谢谢大家，一会儿见。Thank you. Back to you, Katie.
Oh, I was muted. Again, if you use that small globe at the bottom of your screen, you'll be able to select which language you may need. Next slide, please. If you're having technical problems, you can use the chat function to let our technical support know, and they can help you with the Zoom. This would be, again, the chat function, the Q&A we'll be using at the end of our presentation when we have the question and answer period. Next slide, please. Closed captioning is also available. If you look again at the bottom of your screen, you can click and drag the closed captioning to move its position to the meeting window. Next slide, please. Here's the agenda for tonight's presentation. Arthur's going to begin with an overview of this project and highlight some of the features we mentioned in the 30% design public meeting. He's then going to introduce you to some new project features we have since that last meeting and discuss the project schedule. We'll talk about next steps as we continue to move forward in design. And then again, we will have a question and comments period at the end of the presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the project manager, Arthur Gillis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Arthur Gillis, and I'm the project manager for the Forest Hill Station Improvements Project. Today's meeting is a little different from our 30% meeting held this past March. Tonight, we'll be going over design updates since we last met. This image is just to familiarize yourself with the station and surrounding area. You can see the station and lower busway in the middle, the upper busway and parking lot to the south. The blue symbol is for the Blue Bike Station, which is located on the property. Further south, towards the bottom of the image, you can see the green symbol that represents a zip car station, which is across the street from the Forest Hills parking lot. Towards the top of the image, you can see the North Head House for the station and Southwest Corridor Park. Here is the agenda for tonight's meeting. First, we'll have a brief overview of the project. Then we will introduce the new features of the design. After that, we will go over the project schedule and next steps, and then open it up for questions and answers. Next slide, please. This is just some information about the current state of Forest Hill Station. This image on the left shows a view of the station from South Street at Arbor Way. You can see the station's plaza that is parallel to the Southwest Corridor Park and parts of the bike paths. The current station was originally built in 1987 as part of the Southwest Corridor project that removed the elevated Orange Line train. Upgrades were made to the upper busway and new entrance near the Southwest Corridor Park, which were completed in 2019. And because of the Casey Arborway project, it triggered the need for continued and now full station accessibility upgrades. The station has 4 elevators. 2 of the elevators provide access to the Orange Line. 1 provides access from the lower busway to the station lobby, and 1 provides access from the station lobby to the commuter rail. The station also has 4 escalators. 2 escalators provide access to the Orange Line, and the other 2 provide access from the lower busway to the station lobby. Currently, there is no direct connection between the lower and upper busway, which is something that we will address in our update this evening. Next slide. This slide shows some of the examples of how the station's aged over the last 35+ years. The first image on the left shows the commuter rail platform that will require ADA upgrades. The second image shows an existing elevator located in the station. Excluding the new North Head House, the remaining 3 elevators at Forest Hills need replacement. And the third image is of the Orange Line platform. The platform area needs lighting upgrades, and the stairs and escalators will receive upgrades as well. Next slide. On this slide are some of the outdoor conditions of the station. The first image is of the staircase located near the Arborway that goes from ground level to the lower busway. The steps are uneven and do not meet ADA standards. The image in the center shows the lower bus area and 1 set of stairs and an escalator to the main station lobby. As mentioned, there's no direct connection between the lower and upper busways. The third image shows the exterior of the building near the Blue Bike Station. On the right side of this picture, you can see the steel drains from the roof have failing paint and are rusting from age. As you can see, the original station is showing its age and needs some important upgrades. Next slide. Excuse me. This project overview will go over some of what will be done at the Forest Hill Station with this project. This project will complete the following tasks: creating a new stairway and elevator connection between the lower and upper busways, replace the existing elevators and entrance doors. This does not include the elevator at the North Head House near the Southwest Corridor Park, replacing the doors at station entrances and resurfacing non-compliant walking surfaces, regrading the lower busway to improve accessibility, creating a new accessible exit ramp between the commuter rail platform and the Southwest Corridor Park, repairing the roof and station exterior, improving lighting and wayfinding signage, and upgrading life safety systems to assure they meet current code. The project's design contract was awarded to AECOM for $6.84 million. Next slide. Excuse me. As mentioned earlier and presented at our 30% design meeting, we're planning to create a new connection between the lower and upper busway with a new staircase and elevator. The staircase and elevator will be in the southeast corner of the station between the lower and upper busway. Today, if you were to move from the lower to upper busway, you would need to walk through the station with a total travel distance of approximately 450 feet. With this new direct connection between the 2 busways, we eliminate the need to walk through the station and reduce the distance of travel to around 130 feet, which allows users to navigate between the 2 busways more quickly. Next slide. This evening, we're introducing the design for the new exit ramp for the commuter rail platform. It will provide a second exit from the commuter rail platform, which is something that is required for accessibility and safety standards. This new ramp will connect the commuter rail platform to the Southwest Corridor Park. Next slide. This slide provides some information about the project timeline. The design contract was awarded to AECOM in late 2020, and we spent 2021 building up to the 30% design that we presented to the public in March. Today, our design is between 30 and 75% complete, and soon we'll reach the 75% design and follow up with a public meeting for that as well. By early 2023, we expect to complete the project design, and after we've reached 100%, we will begin the next step to move towards the construction phase. Next slide. This slide goes over the public engagement process for this project. In the fall of 2021, we kicked off the project, and our outreach team held 6 engagement events at the Forest Hill Station to inform the public about this project. This was in addition to project information posters that are still located throughout the station. We also had a multilingual survey that asked questions related to existing conditions about the station, and that has helped guide our process in what station users desire for improvements. For meetings, we've placed meeting information in local newspapers and utilized MBTA digital ad spaces along the Orange Line and Needham commuter rail line. We also had car cards placed on all MBTA Orange Line trains and sent an informational postcard to all addresses within a half-mile radius of the station for tonight's meeting. This was all in addition to our outreach team flyering the local neighborhoods. We will continue to inform the public about this project through available communications channels throughout the duration of the project. We plan to continue to hold in-person and virtual public engagement options and to provide project information in multiple languages to ensure people can continue to learn about the project in ways that meet their needs and comfort levels. You will be able to find all of the information regarding the project, including meeting materials, on our project website, www.mbta.com/Forest Hill Improvements. Next slide. We plan to have our next public meeting after we've reached 75% design, which is anticipated to be completed late summer. Between now and then, we will hold stakeholder briefings with local organizations, community groups, and local officials. Again, you can find the project information at www.mbta.com/Forest Hill Improvements. And if you ever need to reach the project team, you can email us at foresthills@mbta.com. And with that, this is the end of my presentation, and we can move to the questions and answers portion of this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Arthur. So as mentioned, we are ready to begin the question and answer and comment period. There are a few options for how you can comment. If you would like to make a verbal comment, if you click the raise hand function that looks like a hand toward the bottom of the screen, it will notify us and we'll be able to click to unmute you so you can ask a question or make a comment. If you'd prefer to chat, you can use the Q&A box at the bottom and it will send us the question, and I'll be sure to read your name and the question that you have, so our project team can go ahead and give you a response. So with that, I will wait for some questions to come in. Arthur, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add. You do have your hand raised.
By mistake, I'm sorry. I think I'm switching screens so I can see it better. I think I may have hit that by mistake.
Okay, so I see a few raised hands coming in. If I mispronounce any names, please forgive me. Let's begin with Patty Yell. I'm gonna click to unmute you.
Hi, yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. My name is Patty Yalley, and I do live within, about a half a mile, a quarter of a mile to the Forest Hill Station. I'm really excited that you're doing this project, and as you were going through things, I could see there was one suggestion I was going to make, which you've already implemented, or it's in your planning. I would like to comment on, are you going to be doing any sort of traffic, traffic like for crosswalk mitigation, because I use this station quite often. I use the commuter rail, and I also use the subway and the bus. And I find it really rather challenging to get across the Arborway. And the way the lights are timed, it's a little confusing. When I get it's just very confusing. And I think it's also could be much more efficient for the traffic as well, because I see these waiting periods where the light is just red and nobody's moving, and then it turns green, and then we get to go, and then there's a left-hand green turn. So you're like, it's very confusing, and I really feel like it could be much, much more efficient. So I'm just wondering if you have is anybody looking into that?
Well, so that's not part of our project. That's typically a city of Boston thing, but Lou, if you want to step in, and there's no plans to do anything outside of the station. This is strictly an accessibility project within the station.
Right.
That's correct, Arthur. This is Lou Free. Let me just unmute, show my face here as I'm talking. There we go. So that our project for the MBTA is within the actual property lines that surround the station itself. What you're talking about on the Arborway crossing was actually done as part of the MassDOT project, Arborway project. And so I know there was multiple meetings where the pedestrian and bike crossings were discussed. But as part of this job, we are focusing on the MBTA property itself and the station proper, and not any work off of the station proper, with the exception of the commuter rail ramp, exit only ramp that we'll be doing.
Okay, I'm wondering if there could be some sort of communication, or even just a suggestion, because what I see is people trying to get across the street, baby carriages, the whole range of people coming to the train station. It's like we can't even get across the street. Well, I mean, we can, but it's a little risky. So I mean, maybe that's something that is more of out in the neighborhood kind of situation that I don't know. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to make it more confusing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Patty. All right, I'm getting a couple of written questions, but before that, David Moore, I'm going to ask you to unmute.
Hi, am I unmuted now?
You are.
Okay, hi. That's Moyer. It's a Scottish name.
My apologies.
I'm your neighbor up the hill over by Arborway hillside. And I had a question about the plan for the upper part of the building, the roof, the windows, the clear panels. Is this going to be simply a painting of the steel, or are you going to be upgrading the glazing of the glass so that it will maybe reduce the amount of heat transmission, whatever? How extensive is the roof work going to be? And do you intend to keep the basic Crystal Palace look, or is there going to be a more serious change to the look of the station, which I think, frankly, is a rather lovely design if it can be brought up to standards, spruced up, and so forth?
Hi, David. This is Arthur. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked that. I agree. It's a very, in my opinion, a very attractive looking station. And yes, we do plan to maintain the aesthetic of it. We're doing a little further investigation into the existing glass. It's about 40 years old right now. And overall, for the age of it, it's holding up pretty well. We are looking at existing leaks, and we're looking to mitigate that. And we're doing a little further investigation to see if it makes sense to remove, clean, and reseal all of the existing glass, possibly upgrade the existing glass, and maybe take it a step further and upgrade the entire system. So we need to dig a little deeper on that, and we'll have a better answer on that at our 75% design. With regards to the metal paneling, personally, I think that's held up extremely well. Typically, that's designed and fabricated to show some type of weathering, which it absolutely has. And if you look at the station, there's two distinct levels of weathering pattern, one at the main station and then one over the busway. So we're, again, doing some additional investigation. We're taking samples to have them sent out, basically to a metallurgist and see if there was different compositions and why they're aging differently. But we're looking to either possibly seal it, maybe paint it, but it will maintain the aesthetic that's there now.
And
really,
what-
the goal is to eliminate any type of leak.
Great, thank you. And one other quick question. I regularly look down at your very distinctive clock. Is it going to be pretty much kept the way it is, or are you going to do any upgrades and whatever? To
No, the
the
clock, I
clock.
think, yeah, David, I think the clock is really, it's become a landmark and it will remain. We're looking at, while we're up there replacing glass or working on the glass, we're looking at staging it and painting the existing tower. But
Well, I want
otherwise,
to thank you. I keep track of time by looking at your clock. It's a lovely New England village tradition to have the local clock that tells everyone the time. So that's nice.
I agree. And yes, the plan is to maintain the aesthetic of the exterior.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, David. All right, I'm gonna go to some written comments for a minute. So Patrick Beals asks, will the new ADA platform ramp connect to the southwest corridor on the northern side of the Arborway?
It will, yeah, so it'll connect on basically to the left of the train tracks. So I believe that's the north side you're talking about. So if you're standing on the commuter rail platform, you'll be walking, the way the exit would work is you'd be walking away from the station down the ramp. You will come up and over and go to the left, the exact opposite of what this picture is showing. You'll cross over the orange line tracks, and that'll drop you into the Southwest Corridor Park. And I believe that absolutely would be to the north of the boat walls that would be containing the commuter rail or the Southwest Corridor.
Okay.
So if you look at this picture, you can see the orange line pretty much to the right, which would be the north, a commuter rail train, which is just to the left of that. And if you look further down, I think you'll see the Acela train. And if you're looking in this picture here, I believe that would be considered looking southeast.
All righty. Athena Aruso asks, what are the specific aspects of the design that are still pending and to be discussed between now and 2023?
Okay, so overall, the design has been established. I think the biggest items, or two of the bigger items, are, as far as I'm concerned, the stair and elevator that connects the two busways. We're developing that and bringing it up to its final level of design. And then the ramp, for the people that joined this meeting at the 30%, we were originally looking at an area of rescue assistance, basically where the ramp is now. And in discussion with the SWA at the MBTA and some comments from earlier, we felt as though there was a safer and better way to get passengers to exit. And we developed this ramp system here. We developed it after 30%, so the consultant's been working hard at getting that to the point where it is now, and that will be moving towards final design. I took a lot of survey and control and coordination with DCR to make sure that it actually fit and worked. So that was one area that was recently developed, and I think we're in very good shape time frame. The other areas which I mentioned earlier, I think it was to David, which we're doing a little more due diligence just so we can get the best system possible, is the existing glass and glazing, which would be the skylight system. There's a fairly decent cost disparity between reusing the existing, which still has a lot of service left in it. Probably the same amount of service life where it's been. It's been there about 40 years, if I'm not mistaken, and there's no reason it couldn't last another 40 years. But we're also looking at replacing the glass. We mentioned also the fact that there could be some Coatings put on the glass to reduce the glare into the building and maybe reduce the heating in there, but this is a non-conditioned space. So again, we're evaluating that and then also looking at the entire system. So we're doing some additional investigation there, and we should be able to get that wrapped up in the next couple of weeks. That also encompasses the metal panels, how to best reuse them and best treat them so we can get another 50 years out of them. Typically metal roofs can last 100 years. And we're continuing to look at everything on the station for accessibility and just general upgrades to make sure we're in code compliance and the best possible structure for the future.
All right, I'm gonna go back to raised hands. So Ralph Walton, I'm gonna click to unmute you.
Okay, I've used the bike paths on the east side of the station, and where they cross the angled driveways, there's a transition between bicycling parallel to the tracks and then bicycling normal to the driveway you're about to cross. And those ramps that take you down to the level of the driveway that you're crossing seem to need some sort of a flare so that you aren't caught between the parallel vertical walls of the ramp and confined so rigidly. So that's probably turns out to be a City of Boston issue, but it involves the driveways that go into the bus station at the upper side.
Okay, so I think you're right, and I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Ralph Walton.
Hi, Ralph. So I can speak a little to this, and I'm going to ask Lou to jump in after, but I don't believe we're touching anything with the bike paths, with the exception of where the commuter rail platform ramp exits. And I'm a fellow cyclist, so I'm very well aware of transitions and how it can cause problems. And that's one area where, with my experience, I brought my concerns to the table with where we leave the commuter rail platform and exit into the Southwest Corridor Park. I was concerned with coming off of that ramp, which again is a very low ridership. We don't anticipate a lot of use there, but I wanted to make sure that there were proper sight lines. So if someone was prepared to cross the bike path, a cyclist would have more than enough sight distance to catch them. And also the pedestrian would have enough sight distance to see who's coming down the bike path. As far as I know, that's the only place we'll have impact and anything to do with the bike path. But Lou, if you want to jump in and see if there's anything else.
No, I think Arthur, you covered it. The only place that we have right now will be impacting, although as Arthur said, minimally, the bike route would be in the Southwest Corridor Park, where the bridge that comes off of the ramping system from the commuter rail platform and comes into the Southwest Corridor Park down a sloped walk, will then turn and perpendicularly cross the bike path to get to the pedestrian path. And we've picked a location that has excellent sight lines in both to the north and south, which is good. It's on a level portion of the bike path, and the crossing of it is in a very close proximity to where the pedestrian path is also. There's also an existing light at that location. So that's the only place right now that we would be, as part of this project, impacting or at least having to take into consideration the bike route that we would be crossing.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. With that, just a quick written question about this recording being shared. Again, this recording is going to go on the project webpage, so it will be available to the public. And you are also, it will be available for you to rewatch if you'd like to go back through the material. Additionally, the PowerPoint itself will be posted separately. So if you'd rather just have that to click through, you'll be able to do that as well. And that'll be going on the webpage within the next few days. Allison Nelson has her hand raised, so I'm going to unmute you.
Hello, hi.
Hello.
My question is, there going to be any like service interruptions during the construction?
Hi, Allison. I'm going to ask Lou to jump in and help me out with this one, but yes, we definitely anticipate service interruption. To what extent, I don't think we've quite developed that far yet, but I anticipate we'll have some service interruption. A lot of the work will happen evening, but I think complete service or to avoid service interruption would be impossible.
Okay.
Lou, I don't know, can you add anything?
Yeah,
to-
I'll add a little bit to that, Arthur. One of the items that we are looking at is what impacts we may have on the operations. Currently, we don't anticipate any disruptions to the upper busway at the moment. In constructing the connection between the lower busway to upper busway, we will be impacting the lower busway, and we'll also be reconstructing the lower busway to improve the wheelchair accessibility to various aspects of that lower busway. So down there, working with bus ops, buses will not be relocated elsewhere within the station or on site, but we may be moving them around to allow work to happen in phases down there. So there will be a certain amount of disruption, just maybe relocation of where you may pick up your bus than from where it currently is. On the commuter rail, we're assessing that right now as to what impact might be to construct this ramp. And that's something that we need to continue to have dialogue with the MBTA and Keolis as to what kind of potential disruptions there might be at the commuter rail stop. Orange Line, at this point, we don't anticipate any major disruptions. When we replace the elevator that goes from the main station lobby down to the Orange Line, we do have the existing elevator or the new elevator that was installed as part of the Orange Line head house relocation as the Arborway project, which would become then the accessible route. And so there might be some not necessarily disruptions, but there'll be some accommodations made to facilitate people who may need to use that elevator to be able to use that elevator at that other side. So as we develop the plans, that information will be developed. It will be passed through the MBTA and will be built into the construction documents. So the contractor will have to implement those. And then during construction, there will be advanced notices as to any type of disruptions that may take place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Allison. I'm going to pivot back over to, we have quite a few written questions and comments coming in. So Steffi Wright asked about the flooring by the entrances and that they're unsafe. And as part of this project, will non-compliance issues be addressed, including, will they include some kind of no-slip surface?
Huh. Hi, Steffi. So we are addressing walking surfaces throughout the station and eliminating trip and fall hazards as we can and bringing it within ADA compliance. We're not planning to remove and replace all of the brick throughout the station. However, down at the lower busway, we are removing all of the brick surfaces and placing concrete. I don't know if there's any place specific that you're concerned with, but if you could add that into the text box, I could try and answer that question as well.
Okay. Another written comment, Jesse Welty, who is with us at our last public meeting, good to see you again, writes, I noted in the last meeting some community interest in the landscaping around the station. On that subject, there is a large tree currently located where the upper-lower connector will be installed. So I think that's the connection between the upper and lower busway that's going to be installed. I imagine this tree will be removed. Is there any possibility of relocating it rather than cutting it down? With the busway and the parking lot, the lower area has a lot of concrete and this tree is a welcome addition.
So Lou, I'm going to ask you to jump in because you have a better feel for the survey in this area. And I'm not envisioning this tree.
Yeah, now the tree that I believe is being discussed happens to be adjacent between the lower busway, basically where our elevator is currently and stairs are currently going. So those trees that are there will be removed. However, one significant change from the 30% design was that we were removing originally the entire planter that is located along the wall that separates the lower busway from the Amtrak right away. And since then, we have changed the design to maintain at least 50% or maybe a little bit less of that planter where it abuts the existing lower busway. And so we're trying to maintain as much planting down there as possible. So that is our ultimate intent, but unfortunately, those trees that are located along the wall that separates the Amtrak right away from the lower busway are in the area where we're making the only place that we have the ability to make a direct connection from the lower to upper busway.
All right, another question we have. Great to see improvements, especially the connection between the upper and lower busway. Are any signage improvements being considered? Directional signage as well as informational signage. Signage on commuter rail and specific to bus routes. The existing signage is good, but some of it isn't specific to the routes leaving from the station.
So what we will be doing is doing a wayfinding upgrade, and that will be brought up to current MBTA standards. So we will bring it up to current standards. I don't know if there's specific signs, and we'd have to look into it deeper, but I don't know, Lou, can you add anything more to that other than we're bringing it up to new standards?
Yeah, no, so a lot of the station within the actual station itself was upgraded as part of the Arborway project. One area that we will be doing some additional signage upgrades is in the lower busway. But we work very closely with the wayfinding group of the MBTA, who works with bus operations and subway operations to come up with the proper signage. So if there's something that you think is deficient, I would put it to the website and let us know what your thoughts are, and we can run that by the wayfinding group. There will also be some, I believe, enhancements done to the signage down on the commuter rail platform also.
Okay, Richard Heath with the Boston Bulletin has a question. Will the stone steps from the upper plaza down to the lower busway be removed and replaced?
So if I understand right, it's if you want to go back to the picture, it's the stone staircase that's leading from the Arborway down to the lower busway. So that was the last slide. So these stairs will be removed and reset. They're uneven, they're not set right. So everything here will be removed and reset. Now, if I understand correctly, you're also probably considering the very top of this staircase. And there is a small rise to get to this and a little platform, and then it steps down. It's kind of an awkward little step. And I believe that was originally put there to keep water from cascading down the set of stairs, freezing and causing bigger problems. We've done some survey in this area, and it appears that the water does shed away from this location. So we are looking into eliminating that top, I guess you'd call it, step or landing. It's about 6 inches in height. So we are evaluating that, and I hope that's the area you're talking about, but we are looking into that and looking to eliminate it.
Okay. Patty, who was one of our first commenters, who for the record wants to say yes, more trees, but had a follow-up question. Have you looked into using the head house as a location for folks exiting the commuter accessibility ramp to avoid the bike pedestrian challenges, and perhaps for an elevator exit if the location is comparable?
Okay, so we did look at an elevator as a second means of egress, and it's not something that's acceptable by the SWA, and code reasons I can't begin to speak of. I'll have Lou add a little to that. To get over to the head house, I'd love to be able to bring it over there, but there's complications with a lot of other structures associated in this area. There's catenary lines that are tying the commuter rails and overhead lines, overhead wires that are powered that you just can't get over into that location. Not to mention, you can't see it from this diagram, but the commuter rail platform is varying in width, and we're limited to where we can put this ramp. Yes, it would be ideal to drop it into that location, but it's just not feasible. Lou, if you can add a little more detail to this.
I think Arthur, you covered it very well. We have, as Arthur said, there are limitations on this ramp or on the platform itself, on the width of it. And we have to maintain certain accessibility standards around the ramp in the center to be able to board trains from either side, whether inbound or outbound on the commuter rail. And unfortunately, we actually did look very early on to see if we could not tie a ramp or elevator back toward the head house. That would be the desirable location. It just doesn't physically work. So this is the really the only avenue that we have where we can make it work with the existing construction and limitations that we have imposed upon us on the site.
Okay, so we have a couple of follow-up comments that I'm just going to read through. They're not exactly questions, but Jesse wanted to respond to Lou's comments. This was when we were discussing the trees around the upper-lower busway connection. She writes, it would still take a few decades for any newly planted trees to provide the current amount of shade, but I appreciate the concessions, replanters that have been made since the last meeting. Thank you for the information. The other follow-up from Steffi, who had asked about the entrances and kind of no slip and what sort of accessibility improvements we're making. She writes, frequently the entrance by the southwest corridor has wet flooring. Today, like other days with rain or other wet weather, there is a caution wet floor sign. In the winter, there were icy patches inside. This is not acceptable and a liability, especially considering the station is new. Switching to another question from Athena Russo, related to the signage question. Could digital signboards be installed in the lobby with directions on which buses stop where and the estimated arrival times? There may be signs like this in Ruggles and Back Bay.
So, Katie, I'm going to step back first to Steffi's question and concern about the southwest corridor entrance. So we are looking at all of the flooring surfaces, and it's a great point to bring up, and I appreciate that. So we'll look into areas where there is localized ponding, and if necessary, we'll regrade it to shed the water back outside. We're also looking at replacing the doors within the station, so that should do a better job of keeping water out of the building. And a couple other ideas that will open up the station during nice weather and seal it off during colder or rainy weather. With regards to the other comment, I'm sorry, I lost it. Katie, what was the second comment?
So this had to do with the digital signage and it providing directions in the lobby.
Yep. So Lou, can you step in and answer that one? Because I'm not sure if that's part of the wayfinding package or not.
The whole VMS package is a separate package, and what we can do as part of the project is just to see if this station conforms to the current signage, which I believe it does. So I don't know, I guess we would have to check with, again, the wayfinding group to see if there's something specific that could address this question that is being implemented throughout the system.
So, and one comment I would make following up on that, the wayfinding group over at the T is actually in the process of, and Forest Hills is one of the pilot stations that we're starting to put digital boards outside of what's called the
Mhm.
paid lobby. So right before you go in the fare gates, and I'm sure those of you who've been in the station have seen this, there is that digital board that typically tells you when trains are arriving, but this is good feedback to take to them as well. Because I admittedly don't remember last I was there if it spoke to bus routes, but that's a good note for us to take back for them to start incorporating as they continue to install these on the system. I know Forest Hills does have at least one. I'm not clear right now on if they have plans to add additional ones. But that's something we're looking at system-wide doing. And finally, Jesse has one more thought follow-up. I was wondering why the commuter rail egress goes inbound versus exiting near the head house. I like the addition though. It's very handy for people living on that side of the Arborway if it's accessible anytime. Which yes, she just writes, I think this is kind of already, this was kind of already discussed, but she wanted to just make the comment and offer her support for it. So Arthur and Lou, I think we've kind of covered that one, but that I know was the big design feature we wanted to share tonight.
Yeah.
I'll give it one more minute just to see if anybody else has last minute questions. Again, we have the Forest Hills Improvement webpage and the email address, which is monitored regularly. foresthills@mbta.com. And we very much so appreciate your time this evening. Oh, Ralph Walton has another question, so I'm going to ask to unmute.
Okay, my question is, has anybody thought about finding a more direct way to connect the south end of the rapid transit platform with the upper busway? It seems that the new busways, the closest one is about as far away as the furthest one used to be. So it's actually quite a distance now that busway is so large.
So Ralph, if I understand the question correctly, you're looking to connect, or you're looking to see if we've looked at connecting the commuter rail platform to the upper busway?
Well, I had been thinking about the platform for the rapid transit.
I think I was going to say, Arthur, I think what he's saying is he's suggesting why, you know, kind of when you come down onto the orange line, why if you move, you know, away from the direction of the trains, is there not a direct connection between where the upper busway is to the orange line, so you wouldn't have to come in the lobby and go through the fare gate? Is that something that was considered as part of this project, and is it something we would consider going forward?
Yeah, we did not consider it as part of this project. Lou, I don't know if in the early phases it was even discussed, but Lou, can you add anything?
No, there was no discussion on adding additional access points from the orange line platform up to the main station platform. The as you move farther to the south on the orange line platform, you do run into the train crew area, which happens to be underneath the upper busway decking area there. And then there isn't much room beyond that. But yeah, there was never any discussion or request or need that we are aware of to where we looked into making any physical connection at that point.
So Lou, is it fair to say logistics, there's really no room to place anything? We've got a road deck that the buses use to turn around. And really the closest place we could put it would be another elevator within the station, which would only be
correct. Yeah, it would have to be in this. Yes, yeah. Correct.
So we wouldn't be able to move it. We're physically constrained, it seems, that we wouldn't be able to move another elevator further to the, I guess it would be south because of existing traffic surfaces.
Yes, I was aware of there being an emergency exit, but it is actually quite close to the street.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Ralph. Again, I think with that, we're ready to wrap this one up for tonight. Thank you again so much for participating, and we look forward to continuing to update you on this very exciting project. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.